All right, so this is week 1, day 3 of CASP practice. That's what that W1D3 means, right? And today we're going to talk about finding mistakes. Okay, so finding the mistakes in problems. So as you guys saw when you did the FIAB, if you had a chance to do it, there were a couple of these types of problems, and we reviewed some of them. Well, I reviewed some of them with some of the students yesterday, but not with you guys. So I may be going over that with you guys today after. But um, all they want us to do is figure out, did this person do it correctly? And if they did, great. If they didn't, point out the mistake. Okay. So we're going to look at this first problem. Okay. It says a student, Maya, attempted to solve this equation. X plus 3 over x minus 2 equals to 5 over x. Here's her work. Now, I want you guys to notice that's a proportion, right? Remember the first day that we did a review, it was on proportions. Okay. There's a reason why I pick proportions, because they come out a lot. Okay. So they attempted to solve this equation, x plus 3 over x minus 2 equals to 5 over x. It said, here's the work. Now, when you have a proportion, you're supposed to cross multiply, okay? So you're going to multiply like that. So she should have written down x times x plus 3, 5 times x minus 2. And if I look, that's exactly what they did. Okay, so that's good. The next step, they're supposed to distribute, right? X times x, well, that's x squared. X times 3 is 3x. That looks good so far. 5 times x, that's 5x. 5 times negative 2, that's negative 10. This step is good. Next step, they move things over, okay? So when they moved things over, they got the 5x, they moved it over. They got the negative 10, they moved it over. So when they got the 5x and they moved it over, that should become a negative 2x, which it did. And when they got the negative 10 and moved it over, that should become a positive 10, which it did. Okay? So now the question is, if this is correct, then is their answer correct? Okay? How did they go from step 3 to step 4? That kind of looks a little weird, right? Does it look like they just factored? They didn't just factor, right? They did something. They used a specific formula. They took the square root of x squared. Oh, you mean they moved the 2x and the 10 over to the right side? But you don't want to do that, because when you solve, you want to make sure it says equal to 0. They use the quadratic formula, okay? Where your a term, your b term, your c term, let me write down my a value. So a is equal to, look at step 3, okay? A is 1, b is negative 2, c is positive 10. And they use the formula that's back there, the quadratic formula in that poster, okay? X equals to negative of a b. If b is negative 2, okay, I'm going to put negative 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 2 squared, minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. Oh, I'm sorry. A should be 1. So x is 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 40 over 2. And notice that's exactly what they put. So is step 4 wrong? No. And then they said no real solution. Is that correct or not correct? No real solution. That means there's no answers. There's an imaginary one. Does that make sense? It actually does. How do I know this is an imaginary solution? What happens on the inside of the square root? But what's the answer? What's inside of the square root? Yeah, because it's going to be a negative 36 inside, right? This square root becomes the square root of negative 36. What happens when there's a negative inside of a square root? What letter is supposed to pop up? Say again? An I. And what's the square root of 36? So this is 6i. It's imaginary, right? Not a real solution. This is a complex solution, an imaginary solution. So her step 5 is correct. She stopped. So it says, identify a crucial step Maya omitted that could impact the validity of her solution. So what step did she maybe forget to do to convince me that this was not a real solution? I did do it. It's in my work. The 6i. It would have been nice if she would have wrote the 6i, because then I'd be like, oh, imaginary, not real. Okay. So I'm just going to put 6i. Okay. That's the step that I needed. Explain why the omitted step is essential. Well, because it tells me it's imaginary, not real, right? So I'm not going to write that down, but it tells me that it's imaginary. Well, I'll just put it down here. 6i is imaginary. Again, you guys can see these notes later. I don't want you guys writing them down so you're not too busy. But pay attention to this stuff. 6i is imaginary, not a real solution. Okay? And then it says confirm that she's correct. If not, provide the correct solution. I just confirmed it by doing the work, right? So the confirmation is going to be like this part. Okay, I did the work, got to exactly her same step. Okay, so when you guys are doing this, and I give you guys the worksheet, it's going to ask you to identify the error. You're going to tell me whether it's step 1, 2, 3, or 4, or maybe just 1, 2, 3. I am going to want you guys to tell me what is the mistake, and I'll write them down after, okay? What is the mistake? And then I want you to fix it, okay? So you're not just going to say the error is 2. Let's move on, okay? You're going to tell me error is at 2. This is the mistake. Maybe they multiplied wrong. And then I need you to fix it. Fix the problem, okay? So I'll write that down after. But check out problem number 2. Says the student Liam tried to simplify this right here. Here's his work. So step 1, and then there's step 2. So supposedly it took 2 steps. Is there a mistake or is it correct? What's going on? Step 1, what did they mess up on? Negative 5x and a plus 4, right? It shouldn't be plus 5x minus 4. It should be a negative 5x and a plus 4, right? So it says identify the error made in distributing the negative sign. Well, we just did. It should be a negative 5x and a positive 4. Explain the correct procedure for distributing. I mean, you can actually write it out. Negative x squared minus 5x plus 4 for this one. Provide the correct simplified answer. So you just fix it. Okay, so we're not going to do that. But you guys would just fix it. So once I put the minus and the plus there, you can rewrite the problem. Okay, simplify it. So here's example 3. A student attempted to solve this equation. Here's her work. Now remember, this is one of the tougher radical problems, right? Again, why did I make us do radicals again? Well, because this specific section in the CASP really focuses on radicals, proportions, and errors. That's what they focus on. You're seeing examples here. And this is what these are from the test. They're saying this is the stuff we want to see. Okay? So let's see. First step. What does it look like they did on the first step? They squared both sides. So this step looks good. And then it looks like they moved everything to one side. They actually moved everything to the right because the x squared stood positive. So notice the x squared is positive. That means that they had to move the 3x and the 4 over to the right, which makes them both negative, right? When they both move over, this and this will become negative. So that step 2 looks good. And then they factored. Okay. I mean, the factor doesn't look too bad. I think it's right. So let's double check it. A is 1. B is negative 3. C is negative 4. So A times C is negative 4, B is negative 3. Something that multiplies to 4, but it has to come out to negative 3, or negative 4, sorry. So it'd be negative 4 and 1. So it would be x minus 4, x plus 1. So that's correct. That's correct. And then they solved it. And they got 4 and negative 1, which is correct. Okay? Identify a necessary step Chloe failed to perform to ensure the validity of her solutions. What would have been good to show in this problem? Probably the factoring, right? So people don't just look and say, like, how the heck did they go from 2 to 3? I don't get it, right? So maybe that would have been good. So I'd put right here like factoring. That probably would be a good step. Explain why this step is essential when solving. Well, I mean, this helps to see the breakdown of a trinomial, right? And then provide the correct solutions. Well, it's already provided. We're good. Okay, so our answers are right there. All right, so we'll do one more and then we're done. This one's pretty quick, but I don't know if you guys remember. Let's see. A student, Noah, factored the expression 4x squared minus 9. Here's his answer, 2x minus 3, 2x minus 3. Identify the error. So they said they did it wrong. Identify the error, explain the correct process, provide the correct factored answer. Can anybody tell me one should be positive? Yeah, one of these should be positive. It doesn't matter which one. Okay, that's called a difference of two squares, right? 4x squared minus 9, you're supposed to write as something squared minus something squared. Whoops, that's a cube. The 3 goes here. Right here is 2x, so your factor is 2x minus 3, 2x plus 3. So identify the error. Well, 1 should be positive, right? 1 should be positive. Explain the correct process. Here it is. Provide the correct answer. Well, 2x minus 3, 2x plus 3. Okay? So this is what they're not going to make you do this on the CASP because you can't really go through all these different steps in one problem. But they may tell you, like you guys saw in the practice test, identify it. Just tell me where it goes wrong. Okay? So again, for you guys, for your homework, this is what I need you guys to do. On your homework, there's two things. Number one, identify the error. So you might want to write this part down. Identify the error. I'll leave it up on the board, by the way. And then number two, fix the error. So like I said, there's not going to be any lines. So for you guys, what I want you to do is when I give you the worksheet, you're going to get a separate sheet of paper. You can get some from right there. I have a lot. And then you're going to say like number one, error is on step 3. And then part 2, fix the problem. Okay, completely. All right. So let me pause this.